And we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We are today, Dr. Melissa Mahon and me, Ava Pandit. We are live talking about our first. And we're so excited to be sharing some really fun, intimate stuff with you. So I'm
I
going to
love
get to know you.
That's
So, Melissa,
amazing.
how was your first?
Well, my first required me going to Canada. so, um, and if you guys, as we're talking about our first, we're talking about our first foundation. I could probably keep the thing going and try to make it very sexy. I don't know that I can. So I went to Canada to go to my first foundation. And it was for me, I always wanted to go to Alberta, and because the mountains there are beautiful and all sorts of things. And so I was like, how can I make this work? And so I saw that there was a foundation in the area, and so I went for that and created a whole amazing trip out of it. My husband met me there and we went hiking. It was really incredible. So we had this amazing class, and then kind of towards the end of the class, I created it into something that was more like a vacation. But the thing that I didn't anticipate was how much change I think I would get, or I didn't know how much change I would get from that class. So it was so funny because my husband got there and he was all over me. So we did still get there. And because it was like there was such a change and a space where all of the, I don't know, the places that I had been so contracted actually was like opening up to something different. And I always look back on that. I'm like, what was that? But it was the like I was having all of me, which created something that created more for every area of my life, for my relationships, for my relationships with my kids, with my job and money flows, and everything changed because foundation gives you more of what you actually be and starts to clear all the layers of stuff that isn't you. So, and at the time I don't know that I could have put all that together, but I look back and I'm like, wow, like it all started with me going, I really want to go to the mountains of Alberta, and something totally different got created. And while that was amazing, it was so much greater than that. So that was my first, and I'm curious. Um, what about you, Ava?
That's funny because, like, my first was in a different city than where I lived as well. This was when I lived in India, and Access Consciousness, which, by the way, guys, the foundation that we're talking about is one of the core classes in Access Consciousness. It's amazing. It's now a 3.5 day class where we basically undefine the foundation based on which you've been creating your life. Like, so many times you don't question what we're creating from, what's possible, what's not. We like have these subconscious beliefs and stuff like that that we don't even realize that we're creating in reaction to. And there may be so much more that's possible for you. So foundation, even though it's called a foundation class, the tricky thing about it is that it's not about like creating a foundation. On the other hand, it's about questioning the foundation of your current life so that you can start to create your life from a different platform from which you can thrive, sort of like the city of Venice, which is like built on a platform. And it's so ancient, it's so beautiful. And so it's a very unique uh, class and experience in itself. And I love, Melissa, that you uh, like Alberta was where, and you live in Chicago. Were you in
I
Chicago back
do.
then?
So this was like I don't know, 4 or 5 hour flight.
Yeah, yeah. That's so fascinating. What did you know? Like, why Alberta? Like, I get that, you wanted to be there, but you didn't just go there for a vacation. You went there to take a foundation class. I wonder, like, why? Why go to like so take a 4 hour flight when you can do the same class probably way closer to you too? So that's something like what did you know?
I really get that it was something about the earth, and I love mountains, and these were like these gorgeous, I mean, just huge Rocky Mountains, and it was actually May, but it was there was still quite a bit of snow on the ground, and so we like hiked in the snow, and it was so much space and ease and peace. And I think if I would have done the class at home, and not that there's anything wrong with doing a class where you live, because I've done a lot of that too, but I think for me, if I would have done my first foundation at home, it would have been different. Like what was cool for me was being able to then have another few days in the mountains after, instead of just like going home and going back to work the next day. And, so it actually gave me this like connection to the earth, to be more, to like almost like recalibrate, if that's even, the right way of seeing it, and to like a new reality where something is, where all these possibilities opened up. But I think having to be somewhere away and somewhere that was really beautiful created for my body. And I don't know that I knew any of that cognitively, but this is like where you follow the ping of like knowing what you know. So I love that you asked, like, what did you know? So for you, you were in India, but you didn't go to foundation in your city that you lived, right?
No, I love that you say that it was like you were learning to follow the ping, follow the energy, follow
Mm,
the lightness. It was the same for me. I was in a city where there was like a found. I knew that I want to take foundation class. I knew there's something in this that I want to know more about. And even though I didn't like cognitively know, but there, you know how sometimes you just have the sense of knowing this is something I'd like to have in my life. And so I was so ready. I created the money, everything was there. And there was a class, the same class, and I was so eager to take this one, happening just the weekend after in the city that I was in. And I was registered for that class. And a few days after I registered for the class, another facilitator, a different facilitator in a completely different city, like 2.5, 3 hours from where I lived by flight, um, like posted about the class that that facilitator was hosting and facilitating in that city. And I was like, the first time I heard about that class, I remember something in me feeling so pulled. And immediately, what followed that pull was the rational brain kicking in and being like, but that's so stupid. You're going to have to like pay extra for your fares, and then you'll have to pay for your stay. Like, it's so much more expensive. And it's like 3 weeks further out into the future. So you have to wait. If I take this class right now, I can already start implementing things in my life and blah, 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 blah. And so to me, it was like, one of the things that stood with me after a bars class, which is the only prerequisite we have for the foundation class is a bars class, which I think is such a gift, because like that body process bars is, to me, it felt like my body required that sort of bars releasing a lot of things that the foundation class was liberating me from. So I'm so grateful that bars is a prerequisite for foundation. So I remember like one of the things that stayed with me the most from the bars class was that tool light and heavy, which is basically, the ping that you were talking about. And if anybody listening here is new to this whole world of access consciousness and these tools, light and heavy is basically an awareness, a tool that empowers you to know that what is light for you will always, what is light for you is what's true for you. So what's true for you, what's congruent with you, will always have a sense of lightness and space to it. And if there's something that's heavy, that feels heavy, that contracts your space, that's just an indication that it's not congruent with you. It's not true for you. There's maybe some lie that you're buying here. And so to me, that resonated so much, because so much of my life was like about, oh, you're not making sense. Like everybody would be like, you're not making sense. Why are you doing that? Why are you saying this? And to me, it made total sense. So, like that light and heavy really felt like I can finally breathe, because I knew that what I was following my entire life was not logic, but the energy and knowing. So it was really fascinating for me when I was like, oh, my foundation class is next weekend, but this one keeps on pinging, keeps on pinging. So I was lucky enough that the facilitator who was teaching or facilitating this class was an amazing, amazing facilitator. For those of you guys who are in India, you might know him, Ardi Uncle. And I was going to take his class. I don't even know if he'll remember this because it was like 10, 11 years ago. But I basically called him and I'm like, you know what? This is what's going on for me, that class is pinging, even though I'm ready to come to your class. And he actually empowered me to, he's like, follow your knowing. If that's what pinging, go for it. And so that was like sort of the last thing that I'm like, all right, fine. I'm going to trust myself. I don't even know why, but I got to go to that class. And so then I booked everything. I stopped questioning myself and went to that class. And oh my God, it was amazing in a lot of ways. And there's like a really weird, magical-ish story that occurred that got me to see I had to be there on those dates. So like it was like the beginning for me to really, really claiming that I can trust myself, I can trust what I know. And it may not make any sense right now, but every time in the big picture, when you look back in a retrospect, everything makes sense. You know exactly why you had to make that choice and not the other, and how that contributed to something you have now that you wouldn't have had you made that different choice. So
That's so cool. Ava, I'm curious now. You said something really magical. Can you tell us what happened?
yeah. So this is
I'm
actually,
sorry to put you on the spot.
I sort of brought myself up on it. I got that. But I'm honestly, likely the first time I'm sharing in a public platform like this, I talk about it sometimes when it pops in my classes. But oh hey, it's popping now to speak to the world. So like the class that I took was in the city called Mumbai in India. And if you guys have ever been to India or know anything about it, there are like these auto rickshaws, which in Thailand you call them tuk-tuks, that are like a very common mode of public transport. Not a public transport exactly, but sort of, yeah. That you can, it's a taxi, but doesn't look like the one. It's not on four wheels, it's on three. So it was, I think, my second or third day of the foundation class. And back then, foundation used to be a 4-day class. And third or the fourth day of my foundation class, and the place that I was living in, I stepped down and I was waiting for an auto rickshaw to go to my class. And there wasn't one coming. I stood there for like 5 minutes and I was like, oh my gosh, do I need to walk to a different street? How am I gonna get to like that place? And it was weekend too. So it was relatively quiet at that early time in the morning. And then there was this one auto rickshaw that I saw coming from far away. And he came and he stood right by me. And he's like, where do you want to go? I told him where I want to go. And he's like, oh, that's actually on my way. So I can take you there. And so I was sitting behind this auto rickshaw guy, and somewhere in the middle, he got a call. And I could just see that, you know how sometimes you can overhear, like the other person talking is so loud that you can hear the conversation. So I could hear that there's a woman he's talking to. I could hear that the woman was crying. I could hear that the woman was like, Jaldi aa jal, which basically means come soon in Hindi. And he kept on like consoling the woman, and he's like, I am on my way, I'm on my way. And he kept saying that, so I couldn't help. And I'm like, what's going on? I asked him, and he's like, actually, ma'am, and this was like a very supremely clean auto rickshaw, like that it really showed that the guy really took care of that vehicle and liked to make money, like honored that vehicle for what it contributes to his life. So then he told me, he's like, ma'am, I have a daughter and she is in a critical condition right now. She needs an operation right now, and I don't have money for it. And so basically, I am on my way to the hospital. And before going to the hospital, I'm going to sell my vehicle for the money. And you're going to be my last ride. And it like,
God.
I had goosebumps. And I was like, okay. I was like, how much money do you need? And Melissa, it's like crazy, but like the guy required 3,000 or 6,000, maybe 6,000 rupees, which is less than $100.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, and so I was really inspired because like in India, there's still like these microcultures in which people don't really do that kind of things for their daughters, because like there's still a lot of discrepancy between men and women, girls and boys, and girls often considered as like burdens and stuff like that. So like knowing how it works, like I could like perceive this man's caring for his child, that his only source of livelihood he was willing to sell to save her life. And there was no guarantee that that would work. And so I was like, listen, where's the nearest ATM? He took me to the nearest ATM. I told him that I'm going to give you the money. Don't sell the vehicle. So I gave him the money, and he was so reluctant. The man had really high, you can tell when there are people who like, it's not easy to receive like that. They like believe in working really hard. But at the same time, he was like in a place where he really required money. So he was very hesitant. He's like, why are you doing this? Well, you don't have to do this. And I was like, I know I don't have to do this. I want to do this. And then I gave him the money. He dropped me off and he cried most of that way. And then he basically he told me, how, please tell me, how can I pay you back? Can I have your number or anything? And I just told him, just educate your daughter, like keep on loving her, do what you do, make an honest earning in a way that, is honoring for you, and pay it forward in whatever way that you can. And so then he left, and I have no idea what happened after that. But like that, it made me wonder that had I not come to this class here, had I not been standing on that street there, had I not been exactly on his way to wherever he was going, it would have like, just that wouldn't have existed. Something different would have showed up. But that really got me to see with so much clarity that even though it didn't make sense 4 weeks ago, I had to be, this is like, I received enormously from that class, like, no doubt about that. But I could also see how, wow, I get to contribute in the world too. If I just keep trusting the whispers without like going into logic, who knows like what contribution I can be. So like
Wow.
it still like gives me chills when I talk about that story, but it's really just about what can you trust about what you know without having a need to cognitively understand that, how butterfly effect we call it in the world, that, a butterfly flaps its wings here and some like a tsunami can occur on the other side of the world. But what if we could
Wow.
like trust
Ava, that is such a beautiful story. I'm so grateful I asked, and I'm honored. Um, wow, it's so beautiful in 1,000 different places, right? But even when you talk about that, like following the ping, it's like, was that the foundation class for you for 1,000 different reasons, right? It's like for him, for his daughter, for what that got created, for the simultaneity of gifting and receiving. And wow, like how much got created, like why by you just following the lightness without having a reason or justification, or where it didn't make sense to anybody else. Why would you not go to the foundation that's soon and right down the road from you? But it's
yeah,
like how much was, this all sort of following the lightness of what you can be and create in the world. And I don't even, it's such a beautiful energy that I don't even know that I have total words for, but it's like, it's such a gift to look at, first of all, just even like what you were being with that generosity of spirit. And gosh, thank you for following your lightness, following your knowing. And that's one of those things that gets created from these classes, from bars, from foundation, is where you start to follow what you know. And you don't know. You could have never predicted that. Not
not
a
in my
million
brain.
jillion years.
I
And
remember
yet,
my dad asking me. Yeah, I remember my dad asking me, "Are you going to receive a different like material in that class?" I'm like, "No." He was like, "So what is different about that class that you have to go there?" I was like, "I cannot logically tell you this. I just have to go there." But it's similar. Like this is such a like direct so many times with I'm grateful. I'm super grateful for this experience because sometimes it's as clear as that. But what I also want to emphasize is that a lot of times it's not. But what if we didn't diminish our choices and our contribution by doubting ourselves? By like, for example, when Melissa, you said that you went to Alberta because for the earth.
mhm, yeah,
Wow, like
but
what
that's
a acknowledging that acknowledging what you know.
yeah. Well, and I love that too, of like sometimes it is so like logical, or not logical, but you can look back and be like, it was this exact thing. And sometimes it's so not. I was like, I don't know what led me there, but the thing that pops, when you ask that question was, yeah, I went for the earth, of course. But there's so many different things that we follow a lightness and a ping that like we create change by who we be wherever we go. And the more you're willing to know the magic that you are, to acknowledge the magic that you are, then it grows and it can create so much more change, whether it's by physically handing somebody money to change their lives, or by asking somebody a question, or by sitting silently near somebody. But who you be and what you be as a being is actually like what creates change on the planet. And where you follow where a class will be lighter for you, it may never make sense to you why you chose that exact class, why that place, that time, that facilitator. But it always creates, whether you see it right now or whether it's 5 years later when somebody says, so what made you choose that foundation? And you get it now. It's like you get it when you get it. But even if it didn't have to be that linear, and it didn't have to be that cognitive, and it was just following your knowing, what can be created. And we're talking about a foundation class, but this can be everything and anything in your life. Anything that you're looking at. Do I choose here? Do I, go on this trip or that trip? Do I go on this, do I enter into this relationship? Do I choose this job? Like whatever it is, if you follow that lightness of what creates for you, wherever your ping leads, so to speak, wherever gets lighter for you, the 1,000 little moments get created into, the creation of your life. So,
Yeah.
so cool. I love that story. And like, just all of where you really start to get like what following your knowing actually creates.
Totally. I love that. Wow. Thank you. Mm. And well, Melissa and I would like to present to you this um, possibility of a class that both Archie and I are facilitating. Look at me being so appropriate with my words. But basically, we'd love to invite you to a foundation class that Melissa and I are facilitating in Danville, California. And it's in 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks, 10
Right?
days.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's November 2nd through the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 2nd through the 5th.
Exactly.
Welcome to my X-Men brain of having to count out days.
Third, fourth, fifth. Exactly. The evening of second to third, fourth, fifth. The evening of fifth. Um, we're co-facilitating a foundation class. How did we get so lucky to be in such a beautiful place on earth, Danville, California? It's the place that we're facilitating at. We hear there's a beautiful trail nearby, and the downtown's really close too. And we're like at a really, really, really different part of the world than usually where Melissa and I live in. So it's like sort of it matches, you know what? It actually matches that sense that I had when I went to like the Mumbai class that, oh, gotta go there. I don't know why. I don't know how. I wonder who all are gonna show up. But you're warmly invited if this is something that pings you. Come. Trust
Yeah.
yourself.
Truly. And it has such a lightness to it. And I've never been there. But it's supposed to be really beautiful and has the sense of the earth and nature and trails and yeah, close to town. I'm really, really excited about it. And there's nearby airports. You can fly into Oakland or San Francisco. So I'm flying into Oakland. And but I love that it's someplace different for both of us. It's just kind of fun. And we've never co-facilitated together. So I'm like really excited. We've created things together quite a bit, but we've never co-facilitated. So I wonder how much fun we can have.
I wonder. Well, thank you so much, Phyllis. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up today?
No, don't come. It won't be any fun.
Totally. And even if it's your first, whether it's your first or if it's your 30th, I'd say just, ask yourself what it would create if you were there in that room, and follow what you know. Trust what you know.
Absolutely.
That's what that whole class is about, empowering you to lean more towards your own knowing and really finding what's true for you, and how do you create your life in congruence with that. So
Absolutely.
we'll be very
Yeah.
happy to have you and meet you there and hug your body.
Yay. Yes. All the new body processes all the foundation body processes now.
I know.
So I'm really, oh my goodness, it's gonna be amazing. So yeah, don't come, whether it's your first or whether it's your 30th, like Ava said, because truly every foundation I ever take creates something totally different. So if it's light, come join us. Yay.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.